When I look back to them homeless days and the loss of my children, I equate it to spending a semester at Harvard University because the knowledge I got is my greatest asset. So if you're going through something, start dialogue first always somebody. If you're going through something, you have to remember you're being taught a lesson and nothing lasts forever. Because you look back at this time, and you have to start believing. We have to be chain breakers, guys. Well, that's where my dad treated them. Well, his grand, stop that shit, guys. You have to be. Everybody that's watching this is not watching by mistake. Everybody watching can be a leader. You stand up, man, and you can do it. I know you can.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Journey to Legacy podcast. My name is Wayne Veldsman, and my guest today is it's a banger of a guest. I don't know how else to put it. Be ready to be blown away by Dr. Robb Kelly of the Robb Kelly Group. Robb is a neuroscientist. Actually, he has a PhD in psychology, a PhD in behavioral science. He is no joke. Robb, most of today's interview tells you about how he grew up poor, how he was an alcoholic. His alcoholism turned homeless, tried to commit suicide 7 times in his life. 2 times he was actually successful where he flatlined and they brought him back. And then through an unbelievable event, changed his entire life to where he now runs a global group, coaching, helping people through therapy to completely change their lives, to save people's lives. Everybody get excited, strap in. It's a longer episode than usual. It's so worth it. Thank you all for being here. Let's hop right on in to the episode with with Dr. Robb Kelly. Robb, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Wayne. It's great to be here. Absolutely.
Man, it's a pleasure. I love your glasses, by the way.
I have 18 pairs of different colors. It's crazy. You can't see now, but I have yellow golf pants on, yellow shoes. It's a conversation starter is what I say to people.
It's a conversation starter for everybody that's not watching the video. Robb has some big yellow frame glasses that clearly match his yellow pants, which we absolutely love. Robb, kick us off. Tell everybody that's listening just a little bit about yourself.
My name is Dr. Robb Kelly. I am a PhD behavioral science and PhD psychologist. What we do today is we treat any kind of addiction, childhood trauma, depression, PTSD, and we work with the patient and their family. We have 5 offices around the world. We're a multi-million-dollar company that give half of that stuff back into communities because that's what it's about. We love what we do because we do what we love. So I wanted to create an atmosphere in every office around the world where people on a Sunday night goes, "Oh, wait, it's Monday morning, brilliant." And that's what we've done. If anybody comes to work with like a frown on their face or worry, they go home. We send them home. Wow. Come in, smile, let's do this. And it's amazing how contagious that can be.
Yeah. Amazing. No, I hear you. I mean, how do you create a culture like that? I'm sure it doesn't matter what business you're in. How do you actually teach people to come into work and to feel that way?
I think it's lead by example is the big thing. So when people say you're always happy, you can't be always happy, my answers are always the same. I died twice on the streets of Manchester. Just recently, I got my 2 children back after 30 years. And this is what I wanted to say. You've got to come in every day. It's not about us. That's the first thing we preach when you come on board. But it's not about you. It's about the people that are dying on a daily basis from depression, from childhood trauma, waiting for us to get our shit together so we can help people. And everybody, it's like looking at a mirror of me when I go into the back office there and I see everybody, because everybody's kind, everyone's into this, everyone's recovered alcoholic or addict or childhood trauma or depressed, covered over that. So we know how to help people. But, I heard this story, Wayne, and I often tell it in conferences, is like this guy walked to the Golden Gate Bridge and he threw himself off, commit suicide. And when they found him, they dragged him out the thing, they looked for ID, they went back to his apartment and they was looking for next of kin. But what they found was a note on the kitchen table and it read verbatim, "I'm going to walk to the Golden Gate Bridge, throw myself off and commit suicide. Unless on the way there, somebody smiles at me, says hello, In that case, I will stop dead, I will come back, and I'll try again. So my question after that is this. How many people have you walked past today, guys, that were heading to the Golden Gate Bridge?
Wow.
Because we just never know. So am I one of the faces that you go, that crazy English guy? Did you see them pants he was wearing? It's a conversation starter, and you just might not go to the Golden Gate Bridge today.
Wow, what a wake-up call of a story there, right? We don't know who we're walking past, and we
No.
don't know how just our being, our day-to-day attitudes can actually affect others, right? And that goes directly with your example of lead by example, right?
Words are very powerful. You know, they really are very powerful, and we have to be careful what we say. So my motto personally is when I meet people, I just want them to go away a little bit more happier, a little bit more content than they've met me. Might be a complete stranger, it makes no difference. It's about changing the world one person at a time. And if you don't think this is possible, guys, you're thinking, well, that's a lot of, BS. I want you to do this for me. Next time you're in a built-up area of people, what sneakers are always the best? Look for somebody walking towards you in a nice pair of sneakers. And I want you to say this. Hey, nice sneakers. 3 words, okay? Hey, nice sneakers. He'll go, oh, thank you, man. As he walks past you, turn around. He'll look down at his sneakers. I bet you $1 billion at least 2 or 3 times. Now you just changed his world. Now he's happy. Now he goes on to the wife or girlfriend because he's happy, she's happy. Then the mother-in-law calls and you get the gist. So by changing the world, one person with 3 words is where it can start.
Rob, you don't even understand how much I love that, right? Changing people, changing the world one person at a time, right? You're creating this ripple effect. And just to share with you, because we met today, I was on a podcast being interviewed a few months ago, and the one piece of advice I gave, they asked, what's one small thing that you can do, that the listeners can do? And I said, smile at strangers. And the second piece I want to share with you is I met my best friend and my girlfriend by saying the 3 words, hey, nice shoes.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's crazy.
It's really crazy, right? It's such a small thing, and obviously it doesn't need to be hey, nice shoes, but like uplift people, and then it'll spread this ripple effect, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you will never know, guys, by the way, how much effect you have on the world because nobody's come and find you and tell you. I mean, they have done a few times to me how I changed their life, which is beautiful to hear, but you will never know how many lives people. The thing is, you have to be confident and a leader in yourself to pass this on. Because if I'm passing somebody, or if I'm speaking somewhere, or if somebody comes in to visit the office, me being dull and miserable doesn't carry a story of hope.
No.
So, and I partly get this from my wife. My wife's brother was a struggling alcoholic. He'd been sober for a week. The party was happening. He had his wife there, his kids there. And he come out to Janet, my wife, his sister, and said, hey, I'm going to nip home. I don't feel too good. I feel a bit tired. So after we watched him on camera, he drove into the driveway. He got out of the car, he walked into the carriage, he got a gun, and he ended his life. And he was sober, just like that. Now, could we have changed that? Who knows, man? But all I know for a fact that when you compliment people, dopamine is released into my brain and their brain. So I compliment 3 people every day, no matter what I do. Constantly complimenting people because there's 4 chemicals that need to happen in the brain, and obviously dopamine is one of them. So we get free. I'm not always doing it, I'm always telling women they're beautiful, and my wife's next to me. I go, God, you're so attractive to this woman, because she knows. And no one's trying to hit anybody, but nobody tells us these days, Wayne.
Yeah.
Prime example, I'm in my Dallas office a couple of years ago. This guy came in, he was suicidal, he was miserable, he was crying into a handkerchief. My new nurse, who's just started, led him into my office. 45 minutes later, he walked out, he was laughing, he was high-fiving the nurses. It was just amazing. So one of the nurses, the new one, said to one of the older nurses, when I say older, I mean been with us that long, hey, did you see what Dr. Robb just did?
Yeah.
Mind-blowing. So the old nurse, I know, right? Have you told him? Oh, no, I mean, he already knows. Nobody knows, guys.
Yeah.
Come on. We stop telling people, we stop complimenting people because you think everybody's doing well. Everybody that you see for the next 100 years is going through something that keeps them awake at nighttime or something that they've never told anybody. It's just a fact.
It's an absolute fact. Everybody out there listening, please like rewind back the last couple minutes. Take it to heart, right? If you see something, compliment somebody, right? Uplift others, uplift yourself is even what you said, right? Because you get that dopamine hit also. Robb, let's rewind a little bit because there's no doubt in my mind. I know for a fact you weren't always this positive, this uplifting of yourself and others, right? Take us back sort of as far as you'd like, just so we can get a little bit more of background about who you are, where you come from.
So, like I said before, I grew up on a council estate, very poor. Mum and dad did the best. Dad dug holes for the gas company in roads so they could lay the big pipes, and my mum cleaned other people's houses. We could never go on vacations. The biggest thing when somebody says that word, and I'm so glad you asked this because I've not gone there for a long time, is one of the memories I have, well, two of the memories. One of them is waving the school bus, me and this other kid, waving the school bus off because they were driving 5 miles to camp in a local park and we couldn't afford to go. And it was like 10 cents today, but we couldn't afford to go. So the abandonment of that, the being left behind, and not being like other kids really struck to me. And then I had a breakthrough about 4 years ago with my therapist because I see a therapist once a month. And I have 72 pair of shoes. Okay.
Okay.
Stay with me here. Stay with me. Okay. And I don't know why. I just go with my wife, a basement bargain, even though wealthy. It was like, hey, these are $12.99. I'm going to get them.
Okay.
Anyway, I have all these sneakers. So I was talking to my therapist. He said, why have you got all them sneakers? And I said, I don't know. He said, well, let's trace it back. As a child, how many pairs of shoes did you get? Oh, we only got 2 pairs of shoes a year.
Yeah.
That was it. Summer shoe and winter shoe. What did you do in the winter? Well, there was holes in my shoes. So mom would get a cardboard box and cut around it as a sole. He used to put it in my shoe. Halfway to school, though, it'd be seeping through with snow and it'd be wet. Oh my God, that's why you have. Like I said to her, like, it's what mom and dad could afford.
Sure.
She couldn't afford to buy me no shoes. This is what she said, Wayne. I was crying for about 2 hours after. So what did your mum and dad do? Weekend for fun. Oh, Friday and Saturday, Sunday lunch and Sunday night, they went to the pub. They went to the bars and they drank with all the friends. And she said to me, did your mum and dad have holes in their socks and shoes when they went to the pub? And I was like, oh my God. So all these years, I've been chasing them extra shoes. And now I have so many shoes that I don't buy anymore. I give most of them away now, but that's why I did that. So a lot of trauma from the past, molested by a priest. When I told my mom, she hit me with a wooden shoe a couple of times and sent me to bed with no supper, because it was a priest. How dare you say that about a priest? And, I wanted to get out of that situation. I was embarrassed that my mom had to clean the house. And I don't know why I was embarrassed. At school, we used to play five-a-side soccer and one of the dads would pick us all up. So this kid say, hey, where do you live? I'm not going to tell him where I live, Wayne. It's so embarrassing. So I used to tell him around about half a mile away, there was a nice estate. There was a nice, private houses with mortgages and stuff. So I told him that address. So I would run every Wednesday to that house and pretend I'm just coming out as I saw the car approach. Went to play football, come back, and I stood at that freaking gate praying that they drive off. Wow. Because I was so embarrassed. So again, that kind of affected me growing up. A lot of abandonment, a lot of shame when I started drinking. I lost my children at the ages of 1 and 3. The authorities took them away from me as me and my wife had split up. Sad, sad story. If we have time, I'll tell it. But so, all them things that happened to me left me in this state of feeling suicidal, depressed, less than. Everything I touched caused trouble. I kept relapsing. I did so many things while drunk. I stabbed my wife 3 times one night, Wayne. Right. She won't let me finish my bottle of vodka. I stabbed her 3 times. So all that drama, trauma, hurts of others. My wife was okay in the end, but I had to flee to Spain for 4 months before they dropped charges.
Oh my goodness, Robb, let me pause you right there because what a wild ride you went through, and we're not even close to done. But starting in like a poor family, which, as you said, like your parents did their best, yet you were still embarrassed about it, right? And the shoes story is so interesting that you said it was only a handful of years back that you and your therapist sort of unlocked that one.
Yeah, yeah.
I try and come through as much actionable advice for people as possible. If you can put yourself into the mind of somebody out there that they're fortunate enough to be able to listen to podcasts, they have access to internet, right? Maybe not at home, but wherever, and they listen to this episode and they're currently sitting there embarrassed about their situation, about their parent situation. What can you maybe tell them to help them realize to either be grateful or fortunate or to just see the possibilities for the future? How could we help them?
Well, if you look back, guys, and you are in that situation, first of all, I want to apologize to you. If you don't think you're up to anything or won't amount to anything, never be anybody, I want to apologize to you because somebody's put that there.
Mm.
Babies are born with $1 million minds, and babies are only born with two fears: the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. The rest are man-made. Wait till your father gets home, blah, blah. You can be anybody you want to be. You have to remember that your circumstances that you're going. You think I loved everybody when I was homeless?
No.
When I called my mom and she put the phone down on me? When I went to my house that she'd call the police? Do you think I would never thought I would ever get off the streets? But, and here's the but, guys. When I look back to them homeless days and the loss of my children, I equate it to spending a semester at Harvard University because the knowledge I got is my greatest asset. So if you're going through something, start dialogue first, always somebody. If you're going through something, you have to remember you're being taught a lesson and nothing lasts forever. Because you look back at this time, and you have to start believing. We have to be chain breakers, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that's where my dad treated them. Well, his grand, stop that shit, my guys. You have to be. Everybody that's watching this is not watching by mistake. Everybody watching can be a leader. You stand up, man, and you can do it. I know you can. And while we're halfway through the show, listen, if you're in that situation, guys, you know the situation I'm talking about, the depressive, thinking of suicide, my life's this, I'm sat in a one-bedroom, whatever, and the wife and kid. If you're in that place, 214-600-0210 is my personal cell phone number. Not my gatekeepers, my personal cell phone number, if you're in that place. And I'll tell you what I'll do for you. I'll text you straight back, but we'll arrange a call. I will talk to you for 20 minutes. I will change your life in 20 minutes. And if I don't, I will send you, as God's my witness, $100 for wasting your time. See, this is about money for me. Getting emotionally away, bear with me. This is about helping the human being, the next brother, sister along. You look me on the internet, you see all the stuff I've done, you see the cars, the houses, all that stuff. It pays the mortgage, man. It keeps my wife happy. What I do is trench work. I'm in the trenches. So don't think for a second you can't text that number, because I would rather spend 20 minutes on the phone with you or Zoom getting your life back together than hear of you committing suicide next week. Because this is about, and I'm going back, Wayne, saving one life at a time. And that's why I still do this at the age of 63. I could ride off in the sunset probably 5 years ago.
Sure.
But this is not about me. Saving one life. Because if you look where I come from, look from the homeless even to where I am today, the leading authority on the addiction and childhood trauma, writing papers for Harvard's psych hospital, McLean Hospital, the highest paid doctor in Texas, the notoriety, the people I work with A-listers all the time, movie stars, they all want some of me. If you look at all that from where I was and you think I'm anything special, I hate to break the bad news, but I'm not this clever. I'm really not. Your life is planned out. And when I used to say that way to people, oh, well, I can't be president of the United States, trying to be smart ass. I can't be president. We had a business running the country for 4 years with no political experience whatsoever, none whatsoever. Don't dare tell me they can't achieve your dreams. It's just not true.
Yeah. Oh, Rob, unbelievable, man. Again, please go back, rewind back. Listen, everybody, take this into heart, right? Rob, so many amazing things to unpack. If I can just make sure I'm hearing you correctly and everybody else is hearing you, that first and foremost, if you have limiting beliefs in your mind, they're not yours. Somebody put them there, right? Born as a baby. Babies are born limitless, essentially. They don't have any fears. They don't have any self-doubt or limiting beliefs. And so it's really not your fault, right? We're all limitless in this way. And like, Robb, you are just such a great example and inspiration of coming from such a low place to where you are today and just truly wanting to help people. And so I cut you off previously. You said homelessness and alcoholism. Out of curiosity, you said that your parents, when you were growing up on Friday, Saturday night, they would go to the pubs. Do you think that was direct relation to your drinking as well?
No. So here's the latest neuroscience that we discovered years ago is alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism and the same with any other addiction. So mom and dad didn't suffer from alcoholism, but dad's brother did. I suffered from alcoholism, but my sister and brother didn't. So it skips generation. When I say, it might freak somebody out, bear with me, alcoholics are born and drug addicts are made. Okay. One has a disease, is a predisposition passed down from generation to generation. The other is the addictive personality. How do we know that? Well, three parts of the brain differ. We know that in alcoholics. We know that I'm allergic to ethanol in alcohol. We know they have the obsessive mind. And here's the key for me. There's a little part of the brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus from birth tells a child naturally, not even thinking, that they need to drink water and eat food to survive. Okay? That's it. Survival instinct. You've got to do that to stay alive. With the alcoholic only, not drug addicts, alcoholic only, the hypothalamus, after a period of drinking, might be 12 months, 12 years, 20 years, it eventually turns around and tells the alcoholic to drink alcohol only to survive. That's why we can go days or weeks without food or water, because when the survival part of the brain is telling you to stay alive, you have to drink. It doesn't become a choice. It becomes a normal, occasion that we have to do this. So, you can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. That's a myth. Oh, Johnny around the corner, he drinks every day, he's an alcoholic. That's not true. Alcoholism is the only self-diagnosed illness in the world. 10 DUIs do not make me an alcoholic. I'll warn you from the doctor. What does he know about alcoholism? Oh, you must go to AA, you're an alcoholic. Stop tagging people with alcoholics. 99% of people who think they're alcoholics are heavy drinkers or abuse alcohol. Stop. Come on, what are you, 14 years old? Stop. Get your shit together and start being a man, But the other 1, 2, 3, 5, whatever it is, 5% are born alcoholics, and it's a very serious disease. Now, drug addicts are made. 90%, 90% of patients that come to me with a staunch heroin addiction started in the doctor's office.
Wow.
So it's that, the basal ganglia picks up that pattern, repeated, becomes normal working part of the brain. So we get addicted by the stuff we take, makes us feel different. Now, they both show up the same. They're both just as difficult to handle, and they both have the same recovery process. But you just have to remember that we're born, and them guys over there are made, So going back, my parents drank a lot of beer. Is that because? No, it's not. I wish it was, but it wasn't. I wish I was one of them heavy drinkers that I drank too much because my parents drank too much, which we see that a lot from learned behavior and measurement. But alcoholism is a whole different ballgame.
Gotcha. You're just born with it. I mean, so if there's somebody out there that understands, they drink a lot, right? I mean, I know I've heard one of the first steps in Alcoholics Anonymous, right, is, or whatever, is admitting it. How can somebody actually go and realize like they have a actual disease versus they could theoretically just sort of learn to stop? Where's the difference?
Great question. Simple question. When you take the first drink, can you stop? If the answer is yes, I can go away, leave it for 6 months, you're probably not alcoholic. The answer for me and other alcoholics I know is no. If I took a drink of alcohol, I'm taking it until I pass out. Then when I come round, I'm taking more because I can't stop. It's the survival part of the brain. I can't stop. So ask yourself that question. Can I have one drink and stop?
Is it like a stop as in before what you just used the example is until you pass out, right? Because unfortunately our society has a extreme problem with self-control also. So somebody out here thinks, oh, I can't stop, right? Like cold plunging is a big thing now. And everybody thinks, oh, I could never do that. actually you could. You just have
Yes.
self-control right now, but you could. And so where's that sort of line of somebody that just doesn't have self-control versus somebody that actually scientifically can't stop?
You've got to look at, again, going back to behavior. So if you're with dad, and after work you all went for beers and drinking town like ours was, you wasn't trusted, then you will repeat from learned behavior and measurement that you will repeat that. But when it comes to completely stopping that, or if you drink copious amounts, tapering it off or getting treatment or something, and you find that you can get 2 or 3 days sober, and then if you did take another drink, then you can just have one drink and go home or something like that, then you're in that safe bet. But alcoholism is very progressive. It is very progressive. And, from the moment I thought I had a problem to the homelessness and the being brought back to life,
Yeah.
it seems like 2 minutes.
Wow.
It happened that quick. Like, everybody else can see it going on. Everybody else was like concerned. Even when I died twice in the street, still didn't think I had an alcohol problem, Wayne. I just thought some bad luck I was going through because everyone left me. So that's the difference. And of course, one of the biggest tellers as well is try and trace alcoholism back 3 generations and watch for grandfather liked a drink. It usually means he drank to excess. So alcoholism is the only illness that's passed down from generation to generation. People think you can pass heart disease. No, you can't. That's all to do with a staple diet where you can't methylate some of that food or protein or vitamins that you're eating, which is a deficiency, which then causes the illness, depression, heart problems. So when I leave mom and dad's house, I keep the same staple diet. And because dad can't methylate this, there's a good chance I can't methylate it. And it becomes, and so on and so forth, and I get heart disease.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So Rob, let's keep moving forward, right? Because I mean, there's going to be a big change in your life happening in the story here in the not too distant future. And so you're homeless. I mean, you told me there were even 7 suicide attempts. What was going on? And then how did you manage to turn the ship?
The suicide attempts weren't cry for help. 5 of them when I survived. Awful stuff, cutting my wrist, and people found me, and I tied myself to a train track once, and the train diverted like 200 yards in front of me. I mean, just laughable. I went to the top of a 50-story building, and got a bottle of vodka in my hand. I stood on the edge. I could look down and see, and I drank the bottle of vodka. Instead of jumping forward, I actually fell back unconscious with the alcohol. So all that stuff was kind of laughable now when you look back. But a spiritual awakening is what I had. So Sunday night, Monday morning, about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and round the factories and offices, there's no human beings around there. It's 3 o'clock in the freaking morning. It's just industrial places. It was pouring down with rain. And I remember this if it was yesterday. I dropped down to my hands and knees and then crying from my belly. The sobbing from my belly was aching because I was crying. Now, the interesting thing, Wayne, is I wasn't crying because I'd lost my family, my money, my kids, my wife. I was actually crying because that was the first time when I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And it took all of that for me. So I looked up to the sky, and I was an atheist. Of course it was. Look what God did for me. And I don't know why, but I looked up to the sky in the rain, and I said, if there's a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds later, this guy walked around the corner. He'd missed his last bus home from a Bible study. He was a recovering alcoholic. He walked past me on a shortcut he had never taken before. And he said, oh my goodness, do you need help? And I said, yeah, I'm dying. I'm an alcoholic. He took me back to his house. Okay. And he got changed and he fed me, and I got shaved and showered. And he said, Rob, you can stay here for as long as you like, man. But you've got to come to these AA meetings with me. Well, I hated the meetings. I've been there before. The war stories, the depressive. Sometimes I drink when I come out. It's that bad, So I said, okay. So the next night we went off to a meeting, and we sit in a circle in the UK. And about nearly opposite me, there was all these moaning and miserable. And this guy said, my name's John. I'm a recovered alcoholic. I was like, I said to Derek, this guy family on the street, what did he just say? He said he was recovered. You can't be. Anyway, he talked from the book. He talked about God and stuff. And I was like, oh, man, this guy. So after the meeting, I went up to him and said, "Hey, John, my name's Rob. Will you sponsor me?" And he said, "No, but I will be a spiritual advisor for a period of 12 weeks, which I thought was odd. He said, "Find a dictionary and get yourself a big book." And he gave me his address. And every Wednesday, went for 12 weeks. Every Wednesday, I left Derek's house at 6. I got there for 7. He said I couldn't come up until 1 minute to 7 and knock at the door at 7. Okay, weird. Okay, and then at 1 minute to 8, no matter what we were doing, he'd walk me to the door and he'd see me out. 12 weeks I did that. And on the last day, he told me everything's going to happen to me. I'd be taken away to a different country. My life would change from tomorrow. And I said, "Johnny, I'm in Derek's basement with a blow-up mattress. Nobody knows. How come my life can change, John?" And he said, "You're going to change, man. Don't worry about it." So I went home. I walked differently. I know I did. I was a bit more chesty, was puffed out, but I was so thankful to John, man. The next day, I'm cleaning the house while Derek's at work, and he comes home at lunchtime. I'm like, "What are you doing home?" The guy that sweeps the floor has just handed his notice in. "Do you want a part-time job sweeping the floor?"
Nice.
Wow, yes. That week it later turned into a full-time job because just my personality, I guess. On my first paycheck, and he said everything was coming true that John said. He says, "Well, weird. I was working with people, I was doing my job, I was getting paid. It was just life was looking amazing, and people would listen when I talk." After 2 or 3 weeks, I bought a little teddy bear from the gas station, and I bought a card, and I wrote on the card, "John, thank you for introducing me to God because He, capital H, took the compulsion to drink away." Man, I'm walking to that house, man. I got this little card, little teddy bear. That's all I could afford. And I'm so excited to say, "John, look what happened, man. Look, you introduced me to God. I'm so thankful." But when I got there and I knocked on the windows, the curtains look a bit different. Knocked on the door, no answer. I was knocking that hard that the girl on the right-hand side in the apartment came out and she said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, where's John moved to? Have you seen John?" She says, "John who?" I said, "The guy lived." And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I've only been here 3 months. I've never seen anybody in that apartment." So I let her close the door and I went to the left hand. I banged on the door because now I'm like, this is a joke. This guy comes to the door. "What do you want?" I said, "Can you tell me where John's moved to? Relocated?" And he said, "John who?" I said, "The guy next to you." Now I'm getting like, I know it. "The guy next to you." And he said, "Listen, mate, I don't want to waste anybody's time, but you can't go into that apartment. If you open that door and walk in, you drop straight through to the floor below, the apartment below. It's derelict. There used to be old tape on it. There isn't now, but you can't go in. Now leave me alone." So then I went back to the meeting the next day because now I knew that was the right apartment. I've been going there for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So I guess to the meeting, I walked in, this guy's chairman. "Hey, Rob, thank goodness that you recognize me." And he said, "Yeah, man, how's it going?" I said, "Yeah, it's going. Just John's still come here." And he said, "John who?" And I said, "The guy that was over in the coffee machine, and I was talking to him, asked his sponsor, da 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 da." And he said, "You were over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself." I never found that man.
No
But
way.
everything I do today is based on what he taught me and shown me. And when I become wealthy, I paid for the best secured private eyes in Manchester to try and trace him, and nobody could trace him. And from there is where I am today.
Rob,
And that's exactly how it happened.
I'm sitting teary-eyed over here, like, how unbelievable and amazing is that?
Yeah. And you know, when I stabbed my wife 3 times, I fled to Spain. My girls were 1 and 3. I came on, he's all over, and she had her bags packed. And she had the 2 children. He said, "Rob, I'm going to love you to the day I die, but you're not going to kill our children."
Sure.
And she left, Wayne. I'm stood in the doorway of this big house. I'm sober. I feel like crap. So I called my attorney and said, "Go to court tomorrow and get my kids back." So he gets to court. He comes back with the kids. I took them off, took them in front of the front room. I sat in front of the TV. And I thought, wouldn't it be great just to have one beer to celebrate my children coming home? 2 or 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down, and I'd been in a stupor for 2 days, bottles of empty vodka after they left the kids, no diapers changed, not being fed, nearly killed them. Police came in, they took my 2 children. One of them had mummy's hand. She's my eldest one, 3 years old, 3 or 4 years old. And she's walking away from us. And she said 3 things to me. She said, "Daddy, Daddy, please don't go." Halfway down the path, she turned around again. She said, "Daddy, Daddy, please get better." And as they got to the gateway, they opened this big iron gate. And she turned around one more time and said, Daddy, please stop drinking. I can't do it. I can't do it for me. I couldn't do it for my children. So going back to when I come off the streets, I knew there was something happening here that nobody knew about. Because I would kill you if you ever hurt my children, but I did it. I did it.
You were the one.
Yeah. Now, 30 years on, I get a message from my eldest daughter on Messenger. Hey, Dad. She called me Dad, Wayne. Hey, Dad, just seen you on TV in England. I want to meet you. I'm sorry for the absence. I believed everything Mum told me, and rightly so. I have something to tell you and show you. So we started chatting, 3 o'clock in the morning. By 9 a.m., 4 or 5 hours later, we're on a plane to the UK. We get over there. It's the middle of the night. We stay in a hotel around the corner from her address. We go next morning. The thought patterns were horrible. Waste of time, Dad. What a loser. And I couldn't knock on the door. I was frozen in fear. And she opened the door real quick. And she grabbed me and we hugged and we cried and we laughed. And my wife was there and she was crying as well. And she took me by the hand and she walked me into the living room and she handed me my 3-month-old granddaughter.
Beautiful.
And it was right there when that I knew that all the thousands and thousands of people I worked with, most of them free of charge, that got well and went on to it, I knew that this was payback from that. And we have a great relationship, and my granddaughter's in my life. And then 6 weeks ago, my youngest daughter got in contact with me.
Wow.
So she's coming over to see us. So I have everything back. Mum and Dad died, unfortunately. Mum still thought I was drinking all the time. She said, I can smell it on you. It was just heartbreaking, but I have everything back, and that testimony puts me, forget education, forget colleges, that education from what happened to me puts me in the lead place to get you well.
Unbelievable. Really, really unbelievable. From the lowest of lows that can possibly be imagined to a unbelievable Sunday night to a 12-week journey that you're now reconnected with your kids you lost so long ago, and you're helping thousands of people around the world. Robb, really.
Well, my eldest daughter, who I met 4 years ago, we sent her back to school, and she's my leading therapist in my Manchester office.
Oh wow, your daughter.
Then my sister a year and a half ago came over. I've not seen her for 28 years. Came over, and she's like, "Oh my God, you've made something yourself." And she's crying, and her husband was there. And she said, "We'd love to come here and work." And I said, "Why don't we buy and create an English tea shop that serves English food?" 12 months later, right next door to my offices, we have the old English tea shop, which serves. So she runs it, and we both finance it. So she runs that. I'm here. I have a great relationship. I have family over here. It's just incredible.
Wonderful. What a blessing.
So when people say today, how can you be happy every single day? My answer is always the same. I'm happy every day. I don't have bad days, but I certainly have better days than others because I'm human. But how can I pass that on for somebody sat in the bedroom right now who's thinking of horrible thing? How can I pass that on? I can be as thriving and leadership and uplifting as possible. It's not my job to come to you on any occasion, no matter what I'm going through, and tell you I'm having a bad day. Sure. I do a book study with the homeless every Saturday morning. My father died on a Thursday night. I turned up on that book study and I did what I did, and everyone was rah-rah and everyone was amazing, fantastic. And this guy walked up to me and said, "Rob, I'm so glad, blah, blah, blah." And I said to him, you're one of my best friends. My father died on Thursday. And he was mind blown how I turned up in the condition I did and didn't tell anybody. And my answer was this: that's not my job. That's not my job to upset you or make you feel. My job is to uplift you. My job is to make sure that this meeting is a pep rally, that everybody that walks through that door, even if you're homeless, has hope that if I did it, they can do it. And I've worked with 8,500 people weighing over the last 20, 30 years. We have the highest success rate in the world. We have a 97%. The nearest one to us is about 9%. That people think it's unreal, but we're the only company. So going back to John, we're the only company that brags that if you relapse or slip back into depression, when you leave us, I'll refund your money.
Wow.
Nobody in the world does that.
Sure.
And all that comes from John, plus the neuroscience that we've learned today.
Yeah, of course. Of course. There's just so much that goes into it. Rob, really unbelievable. Unfortunately, man, we're all out of time. I could talk to you for hours. I think we absolutely have to do it again. We have to literally bless all the listeners with it again. But I always like to just finish talking just a tiny bit about legacy. And I mean, I think you've already answered it a handful of times. But just to be direct with you, what does legacy mean to you, and what's the legacy that you're working to leave on this world?
I want to leave the crazy guy that I learned something from, first of all. But we just started a nonprofit about 6 months ago. So before that, me and my wife would give $150,000 at least per year back into the communities that, not necessarily alcohol addict, someone might have lost his parents or want to get to court for his kids, we'll pay for attorneys and stuff like that. So we created that. I wanted that to thrive, first of all, and I want to build a 100-bed rehab with family access in San Antonio with the Robb Kelly Group. We took recovery out these days because 5% is alcohol and drugs, 95% is other stuff. That's what I want to leave. And when it comes to thinking, going back to the first one, is I wanted to remember that funny guy with the funny accent and the crazy glasses that said to me, and whatever it says, because that I will never know. Yeah. But I just want people to remember me as being excited, being crazy, but being uplifting and inspiring people.
Uplifting, inspiring.
Because I know one thing, Wayne, when I get to heaven, because I believe there's a heaven, you know what God's not going to ask me? He's not going to ask me, how much was that car that you're driving? How much was that house? How much was that Rolex? He's going to ask me one thing. How many people did you help?
Yeah.
I want a big number, Wayne. I want a big number. Oh,
there's no doubt in my mind you have a huge number, Rob. I absolutely love it. With me, I literally on my daily list, on my daily goals, it's serve 1 billion people in this world. And you know how we're gonna do it? How you're gonna do it also? With the ripple effect, right? Yes. One person at a time, they helping others. Oh, count it. Count it.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here today, my friend. I really, really appreciate it. Everybody else is listening, check down in the show notes for all of the links, all of Rob's stuff. Rob, thank you again. And everybody out there in podcast land, thank you for tuning in today. Please check out the links in the show notes below. See what Dr. Robb is up to. Please share the episode. As always, share the episode with friends, family members, colleagues. Unbelievable story. I feel so blessed to have met Dr. Robb today and to have gotten to hear his story and have gotten to bring it to all of you. The two things that obviously his entire story about the Sunday night that Derek changes his entire life, and then of course he meets John. Unbelievable. Of course that stands out, but the two other things, go out there this week. I dare you all, smile at strangers. It's going to give you endorphins. It's going to give them endorphins. It's going to start a ripple effect. And then also say to people these 3 magic words that literally will change their life. Hey, nice shoes. It's so funny. Dr. Robb and I connect on so many different things. Everybody out there, thank you so much for being here today. I really, really appreciate you. Please tune in again next week. Every Monday, we're dropping a new episode. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, my name is Wayne Veldsman, and you've been listening to the Journey to Legacy podcast.